Well, the Indianapolis Colts go to Lambeau Field and play the Green Bay Packers here in week number 2. I wanted to, of course, talk about what are the keys for the Indianapolis Colts to leave Wisconsin with a victory. Let's get to it. All right, we are back. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. I'm your host, as always, Cody Felger. And like I mentioned already, guys, the Indianapolis Colts travel to Lambeau Field, play the Green Bay Packers, the Jordan Loveless Green Bay Packers. Both teams sit at an 0-1 record, but the Colts have a great opportunity here to go into Lambeau and to come out getting back to 500 at 1-1. But here are some of the things in my mind that the Colts need to do in order to win this game and to go back into a winning record. But before we get into that, just want to remind you guys, this episode is presented by Prize Picks. Be sure to hop over to prizepicks.com today. Use their mobile app or whatever, and when you sign up, use the code BTJ for a $100 deposit match. All right, guys, let's talk about this real quick. So there are a few things in particular that I think the Indianapolis Colts need to do well. And obviously, a lot has changed for both these teams from week 1 to week 2. Unfortunately, on the injury front for both of these squads, it's going to be an interesting one to see kind of what happens here. But both have been hit in some pretty significant ways with the injury bug already. So that's definitely one that I want to talk about. You just got to weather the injury bug, for the Colts specifically. Obviously Juju Brent's out for the year, so you need that next person, whoever that is. If it's Chris Lamons, if it's, I don't even know who it would be, right? Whoever that next guy is. And again, we'll see, could it even be somebody we're not expecting, right? For example, in the Indianapolis Colts a couple weeks ago, they made that waiver claim for Samuel Womack. Could this be his opportunity to potentially step in and do something? The Colts haven't made any moves outside, even, adding to their active roster for their cornerback position. So who is slotted as that number 2 corner alongside Jalen Jones? And whoever it is, how do they look? How do you kind of weather that? And then without being for sure Julian Blackmon in this game, potentially Kwity Paye, potentially Josh Downs, potentially we'll see on those. But, how do you weather the storm there if you're the Indianapolis Colts? Obviously for the Green Bay Packers, that's the biggest thing you got to think about with them is Jordan Love, obviously going to miss this game due to injury. So that's definitely one that you got to monitor for the Green Bay Packers. No doubt. I mean, obviously we know what Jordan Love is capable of. The Green Bay Packers obviously know what he is very much capable of as well. So we'll see on that, when it comes to it. How is that going to potentially change the game pretty much in its entirety? How's it going to flip it on its head? I mean, Malik Willis, I think you would argue, probably one of the worst backups in the NFL right now. So how do they weather the storms, both these squads? That'll be an interesting one for sure. We'll see with that. One other thing of note, another player of note, Jaden Reed, is listed as questionable as well, but that's really the only other major one. Marshawn Lloyd as well, a running back, was also listed as questionable. So we'll see if Jaden Reed gives it a go. But both these teams got to weather the storms. Colts more on the defensive side of things. Obviously, Green Bay more on the offensive side of things. So how do these teams weather the storm? And then I think the biggest thing the Indianapolis Colts need to do very well is, the run game on both fronts. Obviously the Colts were not able to stop the run. I mean, I think anybody pretty much could have run the ball on the Colts a week ago. At the Houston Texans, Joe Mixon did whatever they really wanted against the Colts in that game, averaged over 5 yards per carry. It was just ugly run defense from this Colts defense. Now, the good news is the Colts are virtually healthy, and we'll see on Kwity Paye. That's kind of the biggest question mark, but they're pretty healthy on their front 7 right now. So that's a good thing, and hopefully they can have a bounce back game. The Green Bay Packers, we know obviously what the Green Bay Packers are capable with Josh Jacobs. He's a very good running back. So the Colts are going to definitely have to do, what they do on that one to stop the running attack, which right now is, pretty solid. It's pretty solid running the football. The Packers a week ago had 163 yards rushing. So Colts run defense is definitely going to be tested in this game, and they got to figure it out very quickly. And they got to, stopping Aaron Jones first, not giving Malik Willis any chance, making the Green Bay Packers one-dimensional, and essentially saying, all right, Malik Willis, go beat us. I think that's what you have to do in this game for the Indianapolis Colts. Focus all you can on that rushing attack and stopping it. And hopefully you'll have a little bit better success this week than you did the previous week against the Texans. I mean, let's be honest, Malik going from facing CJ Stroud to Malik Willis, I mean, you should have a heyday in this game, right? You really should. Here's an interesting stat. Malik Willis, he's only played in one quarter so far this season, and he actually got sacked 4 times in that quarter alone. So you're going to have to make the Green Bay Packers one-dimensional. I think you do that by really taking away that running game and Josh Jacobs and everybody in that backfield. And also just, the quarterback contained with Malik Willis. I could see them potentially trying to do some of that stuff a little bit more. So you just got to take away that rushing attack as much as you can and force Green Bay to throw the football. I think another thing that the Colts got to do, kind of talking about that, I thrown out that stat about Malik Willis, taking a lot of sacks and all those things. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts need to essentially do what they did to C.J. Stroud in that first half. The Indianapolis Colts got to get pressure early and often on Malik Willis, right? They got to make him continue to look like, frankly, the draft bust that he's been pretty much his entire career. Make him look like a journeyman quarterback at this point who is not even close to a starting caliber quarterback at this point in his career. And the Colts got to do that by getting pressure on him early and making his life really difficult back there. I think they have an opportunity to do so. Like I said, we'll see on Kwity Paye, but regardless, you still have some guys, even if Kwitty's not able to go, that can get after the quarterback. You have Tyquan Lewis, Dayo Dangbo, both guys who had sacks a week ago. DeForest Buckner, I would assume he's going to play. He seems like he powers through about everything. And then, of course, you're talking about Laiatu Latu, who didn't have a sack a week ago, but definitely had a lot of pressures and was affecting things when he was out there, despite playing, something like 37% of the snaps. So definitely want to see the Colts get some pressure early and often on Malik Willis, on this Packers offense. And if you do take away the run game and you get pressure, I mean, Green Bay's not going to be able to do anything. I mean, Malik Willis is not, unless by some crazy miracle and Gus Bradley pulls out a stinker, which, not completely out of the realm of possibility, but you think about it and you're like, come on, it's Malik Willis. You have to be able to beat Malik Willis. Seriously, I don't care how beat up your secondary is. So Colts got to get pressure on him early and often, and hopefully they do that and just make Malik Willis look like Malik Willis, to be honest with you. Don't make him look like, Aiden O'Connell looked last year. Just seriously, just get pressure early and often, make him uncomfortable, throw him off his rhythm. Don't even let him get into rhythm if you're the Indianapolis Colts. I think if they can do that, they're going to have a good opportunity here to really, stifle this Packer offense pretty early.
Guys, football season is right around the corner. Definitely got to make sure you're getting in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. You guys can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, guys. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with any entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. I mean, guys, look, I'm looking at some of these entries here. And if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan like myself, which you probably are because you're on here right now, well, I'm just looking at some of these season numbers here. And some of the stuff for Anthony Richardson, I have to get in on. Guys, we have one right here where it's 7.5 on the season rushing touchdowns for Anthony Richardson. Folks, Anthony Richardson had 4 rushing touchdowns in just 10 quarters of football last season. What do you think he's going to do this year when he's actually healthy and fully capable of going? Now, obviously, they're playing into the fact that they think he might get injured. Anthony Richardson doesn't. That 7.5 is an easy more when you want to talk into that one, guys. So make sure you are getting in on the action of getting some of these numbers for Anthony Richardson and other Colts players as well. Remember, guys, be sure to download the Prize Picks app today and use the code BTJ for your first deposit match up to $100.
One thing the Colts got to do specifically, moving on to the Colts offense, is one thing they got to do for sure is definitely run the football better. I mentioned it already. The run stopping was not good, but rushing the football wasn't much better for the Indianapolis Colts a week ago. Jonathan Taylor under 4 yards per carry, which is definitely not something you're used to. Now, I will say this: Green Bay actually did some decent stuff when it came to yards per attempt. But the Colts got to get it back. They got to get it back. They got to win the trenches. They got to run the football, take pressure off of Anthony Richardson, and just do what you got to do. I mean, the Green Bay Packers last week, though, they gave up the most fantasy points to any running back in the NFL. So definitely a possibility for the Colts to exploit in this game. They definitely have to run the football down Green Bay's throat, really give Anthony Richardson a lot of help in this game. They did not do so in week 1, and so they definitely just got to make Anthony Richardson's life very easy in this game, because Green Bay does have some players on that defensive side of the ball in that secondary that can do some things. Specifically, when you look at it, you talk about, obviously we know the Green Bay Packers taking a player that the Indianapolis Colts wanted last year, or we wanted, Xavier McKinney. We know what a good safety he is. You have Jair Alexander. So as much as possible, run the ball down the throat and don't make Anthony Richardson have to go out there and win you the game and play hero ball. Well, I think he definitely still could. I just want to definitely don't even get to that point and just run the ball consistently. Make life easy on Anthony Richardson this week. And you got to start with getting Jonathan Taylor in this running game going. If the Colts can do that, I think they'll definitely have a good chance in this game. I think, when you're talking about this offense as well, like I mentioned, when you look at the pure stats, it's nothing crazy for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they still allowed over 250 yards passing a week ago to the Eagles, but also when you look at it, they're able to do some things in the secondary specifically to take away the ball. They definitely have some players who are more than capable of doing that. I would say that's definitely the strength of their defense is their secondary. So I definitely wouldn't test it if I'm the Colts as much as possible. Now, you may have to end up doing that, but I just think for Anthony Richardson is taking care of the ball, doing what you got to do, especially if the running game gets going. I think you definitely have an opportunity to not have to throw the ball a ton if you're Anthony Richardson. Obviously, we know he's going to use his legs when needed, but I think from Anthony Richardson, you just need to see more sustained drives, right? And we know this was going to be some of the stuff you get with Anthony Richardson. You're going to have some high highs, some low lows with him. But I definitely just want to see him in this Colts offense be a little bit more efficient, especially on things like third down and situationally. I'd like to see the Colts be better in this game. But I think other than that, guys, if the Colts do these things, I think they have a really good chance to win this game. I think they have a good chance to win this by double digits, especially if they're able to really stifle this Packer offense early. But I think it all will come down to stopping that running game, and then for the Colts getting that running game going. If they can dominate in the trenches, I do believe the Colts are going to come out victorious in this game. But guys, those are some of my keys to the game for the Indianapolis Colts. Talking about some injuries, talking about the fronts, talking about Anthony Richardson being able to really just take care of the football, do what he needs to do. And if they can do that, I think the Colts have a good chance in this game. But guys, let me know your thoughts. Curious on your guys' thoughts here in this game. That'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.